Hi, I'm Richard Sharp. I'm the co-founder of Challenger Operations. We believe that even in this changeable world, success is the only option. In this podcast series, we interview some absolute game changers that have pulled off the most extraordinary results all around the world in the most challenging of circumstances. This is the Challenger podcast series. Thanks for listening. Right, so this is the first in the Challenger series of podcasts. Pete, welcome to the Challenger couch. We're gonna get right into you on this couch. We're gonna sort of cuddle you, bring you into the Challenger fold, find out what makes you tick. You're the first person that we've had as we start to explore why people succeed after the military. And you seem to be the definition of success right now, mate. But before we get into that, it'd be great to just hear a little bit about you before the military, what part of the military you joined, and then we'll get into the good stuff after that.
Cool. So my name's Pete Kelly. I'm the CEO and co-founder of an app called Employable, which was developed in 2017 after I left the Royal Marines in 2015. Before that, I grew up in South London, Croydon.
Oh, you're from London? I thought you were from Plymouth.
No. I'm adopted Plymouth.
Okay.
But all my family still live in Croydon, so.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
And so when did you join the Corps? When did you join the Royal Marines?
2005 I joined.
Same time as me?
As an 18-year-old.
Yeah, I joined in
You
05.
was obviously, 35?
I know I look like I'm hanging out. No, I was 22. I was 22.
Yeah, cool. I'm 906 Street.
Well, I was an officer, so I joined in September 2005.
Yeah, same. September 12th. That's the day I joined.
Boom. Mate.
Smash.
Meant to be.
Yeah. Joined 2005. There's a funny story that goes with that, actually, that no one really knows. So you want an exclusive?
A Challenger exclusive. That's awesome.
So I got to week 22, did bottom field pass out, broke my foot on week 22, was sent on sick leave. The PTI tried to stop me going on sick leave, tried to cancel it. I can't remember who it was. I went anyway, and then went AWOL for a month. And then got arrested, taken back to Lympstone, or picked up by my Sergeant Major, and then made to start week one, day one again.
No way.
Yeah.
So you did 57 weeks odd of Royal Marines training?
So I went off and healed, and then come back and went back to week one, day one, yeah.
And we're going to talk to you about how you successfully execute things. That's probably not the benchmark for how to do it.
It was probably the hardest lesson I ever learned.
Yeah, right.
But a good lesson in resilience.
And we all learned. I mean, you were 18 at the time, right?
Yeah. I was young and stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to Dan Carter the other day on a podcast, and they said, "What would you go back and tell your 18-year-old self that you know now?" And he said nothing, because all of the ups and downs is reason. Yeah. I am who I am. That's part of his journey.
And where you are today, and you know, it's funny. I do a lot of talks and write a lot, and I used to be really, really angry about my childhood. Really angry, and then I kind of thought about it, and if one single thing had changed in my timeline, I wouldn't be here now. Yeah. Right. So why would I change it? You know?
Because you like where you're at now, and that's all part of it. They're all layers that get us to where we
Absolutely.
get to.
Who knows where I'd be now if I hadn't done that? So you know, you kind of have to look at the past and accept it for what it was, and take the learning from it. And I think if you harbour certain things from your past, it will just eat you. Yeah. When actually you can attribute a lot of success to previous bad times, good times.
It's interesting you talked about resilience. That wasn't going to be where I wanted to go with this, but it is something I believe is so important now. And unless you do hard things, you can't get good at doing hard things. And I've only just met you today, but I can see you've got like the world on your plate. You're executing stuff all over the place. You get pressure, fundraising. You know, you're dealing with a lot of pressure at the moment that many other people would fold under, because that levels of resilience isn't there. And it's interesting that actually your childhood has probably given you some resilience, and the core, and everything you're doing now. But it must be massively important to who you are now.
Yeah, I think there's certain skills that you can learn. I mean, it's 2021, you can learn anything these days. Right. So there's hard learned skills, and then there's hard earned skills. And
I love that.
And resilience was hard earned. And I think growing up in a council estate in South London, I didn't know my real dad. My mum left me when I was 10, and it was a pretty rough ride. And there's probably a book there somewhere.
I think there is.
And it's you get to the point where you're a young adolescent, and I kind of developed what probably would be diagnosed as borderline personality disorder.
Okay.
And it's I was really good at shutting off and shutting out and I was always in sort of self-preservation mode. So whenever I got close to anyone, I'd push them away, and I would cut them out of my life in quite a damaging way to me and them, not really knowing why.
Yeah.
But I did that because, looking at it now, it's always nice to look back, isn't it? But
Yeah. It's always better looking.
it's always better,
back.
yeah. But I did that because, I believe that people came, I trust them, they abused my trust, and I wanted to shut people out on my terms. I did that. They didn't hurt me. I did that. And
so you never get left again like you did at 10?
And never just get emotionally, physically neglected. Do you know what I mean? And it was like a way to save myself. And it was my greatest gift, and also my greatest curse, because it was, it made me a very angry person and a very untrusting person. And the worst part of it is it made me a bit of an asshole to other people who didn't deserve it.
Right.
Other people who just wanted to look out for me, look after me, love me, and I just.
You were getting it in first.
Yeah, and I was just, if this is going to be a messy breakup, it's going to be on my terms, and then I've got no one else to blame.
Yeah.
And no one's hurt me, so it's been a tough lesson. But I think when it comes to the resilience, I think without being like that, I couldn't have joined the Corps.
Right.
And I don't think I could have gone through what I went through in the Corps and come out the other side.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to look back and say, I earned the right to be able to handle that.
Yeah.
And through childhood, past experiences and stuff like that. And as a kid, I was really weak. I was actually really weak all the way until I sort of phase 2 of training, if you like. I used to get beaten up, had a knife at my throat at the age of 8, syringed the week after.
Wow.
It's just a really rough, and I was just quite
man, I can't even imagine.
It is what it is. There's worse going on in the world now, so
that's a good perspective point, but it doesn't make it any better.
It doesn't, no, but I think if you could look at it and say, well, look at the good that's come out of it, and I think when you start looking at it from a bigger picture, I could have become like my biological parents. And then my kids could have become like me, and their kids could have become like them. And if anything, it was not a burden, it was a gift that I was able to stop that.
You've broken that cycle.
So I've broken that cycle, and now my kids have a very good life. I've got 2 boys, and they don't want for anything, but they've got their own resilience, and because I make sure that they learn that.
Yeah.
But I know their kids are going to be great kids, and their kids and their kids. So
awesome.
I can kind of look at it and say, well, you're always the hero of your own story, aren't you? And that's the point. And I don't think my kids, until they're old enough to watch something like this, will understand what I went through as a child. But that's my bit done.
I think there's a point in most people, and when I look at people I knew in the military, meeting you today, Rob's behind the camera, other people, and I'm going to come back to what you're saying about breaking the cycle. That we're drawn to that. We're drawn to that service. We go and do these things abroad. We're going to come to your military service in a minute, but because we can. There is people in the society that can do these things, that can shoulder that burden, so others don't have to. And I'm not a big believer in the fact that, civvies don't get us, they should get us. No. The whole point of those is that we go and do that so that they don't have to. That's kind of what I think the point in us is. And it's lovely that you can reframe everything that happened to you. And that was the point in you, was to break that cycle. So now the rest of your family tree goes on a totally different course. Maybe that was the whole point in you.
I'm not a highly spiritual person, but I do divine intervention, the universe, all of these good things. I think that if you look at science, now some scientists might watch this and absolutely smash me, but
2 Marines talking about science.
Yeah, I know. It's what?
I can't even spell science.
When you look at energy, right? Energy can't be created, it can't be destroyed, it can only be transferred. Okay, so there's only a finite amount of energy. So when you start looking at things like population growth,
right?
And I know I'm getting off on a tangent here, but like when you look at population growth, you see the decline in population and a lot of other things as well. And that's obviously energy transformation, deforestation, all these good things. And I'm not like some crazy activist or anything like that, but I pay attention to it. And I think that when you start looking at things from a level like that, I start to think, well, maybe maybe the universe does have a plan for me, you know, and maybe I needed to go through that childhood, and then I needed to go through the Corps, and then I needed to do Afghanistan, and I needed to come out and be unemployed, and I needed to do all these things to give me the arsenal and the weaponry that I need to go and make serious change for the betterment of humanity. And even if it's not true, it's nice to think about, because it keeps you focused.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here for a reason. I got stuff to do. I got stuff to achieve, and nothing's going to stop me. Yeah,
you definitely come across as a force of nature, mate. Like, even when you walked in upstairs, like, Jesus, this guy
is loud.
This guy's on a mission,
just to get through the door.
But it's impressive, right? And it's impressive the way you're looking back on all that hardship, and the way you're framing it, and the way you're now channeling it into employable. You know.
Yeah, I think if imagine what the world would be if more people could do that, and if more people could stop being angry at their past and then becoming angry and making the world a worse place.
And if we stop focusing on all the negative,
and
start looking at actually where the positive can come from, that
there's positives everywhere, you know. And there are people who are really down on their luck, but you just have to be open to luck and open to opportunity for opportunity to come. And I think if you close yourself off from the world, and I realise this, then you're closing yourself off to opportunity and to growth, and that's, you know, so I feel like I'm in the best, which is not recently, I feel like I'm in the best mental position I've ever been in my life, which is very free, and it's like that weight being lifted on my shoulders, you know. It's not something I've got to carry. But now I have the ability to help other people to do the same. And to find their own freedom and to find their own purpose in life. Yeah,
that's amazing. Right, and we're going to come to that in a minute. So just quickly then, because this isn't meant to be like a Royal Marines sort of war story biography, but I think there's an important part of your life that's helped get you to employable is obviously your service in the Corps. Not just the empathy you have to help veterans transition, but of course, everything we've just been talking about, your experiences. Where did you go from training?
So I went up to FPG, formerly FPG.
Fleet Protection Group
Royal Marines, that was interesting. Then from there I went on a SIGs course. I was on a SIGLA with my co-founder, funny enough, so Kieran Yeoman, who's also a Marine. Me and him were on SIGs course in 2008 together.
He's called Kieran Yeoman.
Kieran Yeoman, and he was
good.
He was Air Duvet, so he didn't really do much, but but yeah, we sort of met there and then split off, and then I was very lucky. I thought I was unlucky at the time because I got pinged for HMS Albion. No one wants to float around the world until you realise that it's actually a cruise. And we did probably 25 countries in 2 years, and
amazing.
I was on the beach recce team, so I was doing all the good tasks. And then I went from there to Commando Helicopter Force, and that's where I got lucky because I was on the Mobile Air Operations team.
Nice.
So that was...
Everyone wanted to be a door gunner, right?
Everyone wanted to be a door gunner, but that's boring. Mayot was where it was at because it was just so varied and exciting and different to the regular Corps. And I did 6 months in the training role with reconnaissance BRF or SRS now. I did 6 months on the Afghan role, you know, and I was on an army tour in Afghan, basically on the ground, and I had every job going. And because it was an army tour and I was a Marine, I'd sit in the mission planning conferences, and I remember I had my heels together because I was going renegade, not shooting people, but like with employing myself. So the captain came up from, I think it was the Welsh Guards, and comes to me and goes, bearing in mind I was reconnaissance and running helos and medevacs and setting up HLSs and that. He goes, oh, you're a bootneck. Oh, that's great. Do you want to be a point man assault section? I was like, yes, I do. Thank you very much. And then on the next one, I was a GPMG gunner, and the boss caught me. He's like, why do you have a GPMG? As I was getting on the helo. He's like, you're recce. I was like, I got a pistol, so it's all good. And I was just literally just flying around the AO, working with SFSG and SF, and just having a great time.
How old are you at that point?
22, I think.
See, I mean, the amount of responsibility on your shoulders at that point. A Marine, 22 years old.
Well, as a lance
controlling
corporal,
strategic assets.
And
this is big stuff.
The first op I went on, my first live op, I'd done Libya before that, but not a lot, just commanding helos basically. But I remember got onto the ground, and it was the first time I'd been shot at, and I was so lucky because it was with the Welsh Guards, and they were brilliant. And being an individual augmentee, you're detached. There's no other bootnecks, and you know that trust. The bootneck's got my back no matter what. And then suddenly I was thrust in with a group of lads that I didn't know, who didn't know me, who probably didn't care about me,
Yeah.
even though if they got hit, then it was up to me to get them out.
Right.
So they should have cared.
It's like don't ever be rude to the chef, right?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
strictly
Yeah,
food.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember we got contacted across the HLS, and obviously went through a lot of training. And if you get contacted across HLS, I had to move the HLS on the fly, which strategically is quite difficult to do in a firefight, especially when you want to get off the ground. And I remember I went up this OC was a major, and he was SAS, and basically he'd been given his last hurrah, basically.
Right.
And could go to a fighting company, and he decided to go back to the Welsh Guards before he drove a desk. And he just was just brilliant. And we got contacted. Obviously, I'm giggling like a little girl because it's fun and it's exciting. And he's just sat there, and all the way through, he's just talking to me like it was a normal day.
Yeah, right.
And then I had to get out on map then and actually do my job, and I was absolutely bricking it because I'm Lance Corporal. You know, I work for the Colonel of Jaguar. You know,
Yeah.
he's the one who puts me on the ground as an asset, and there's only two of us. And so the bootnet in me kicked in at that point, the thinking soldier, because I went up to him and said, right, so this is what I want to do. I want you to go and clear this Calais here. I'm going to take a multiple, clear this Calais here. On the way, I'm going to recce this, and then what we're going to do is we're going to meet here, and then we're going to call the helos in here. And then after I'd said it, I thought, oh shit, I've just detailed off a SAS major. And given his due, he went, right, happy with that, right, lads, Lance Corporal Kelly's in charge from now on. And suddenly I've got a company worth of blokes, two Chinooks, two Apaches, and it's all up to me to get them off the ground first op. And it set the trend for a really kinetic, really fast-paced tour.
Yeah.
But that gave me the confidence to know that I could do my job.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was really good.
And was that your last tour? How long did you do in the Corps after that?
Yeah, so after that I went drill instructor.
Did you?
Yeah, I was like the last drill. I was rubbish.
You don't strike me as particularly Puss's guy.
No, well,
Puss's means like follows the rules, teaches everyone the rules, is a stickler for the rules. In the last half an hour, not really got that coming off you.
no. The thing is, I like being a DL because of the discipline, the military discipline. But I think DL always had a different kind of rapport with the recruits to the training team.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, I wasn't a great DL. I was really good when it came to like inspections and things like that, because the lads would always dig out for me because I was fair. You know, I was fair and personable and approachable because I'd been through what they'd been through and more. And what I wanted for them was to just get through it, you know, no matter who they were. And so I was never enough to get angry at them for doing stuff. Apart from, you know, when I get a phone call saying you need to come and have a look at the grot, and then I'd go there and just be like a grenade. But you know, they need that, and everybody needs that. But the drill side of things was really good because I love the Corps. The Corps is what made me. The Corps saved my life. The Corps stopped me from being basically going the wrong route and becoming a statistic. And I wanted to make sure the standards of the Corps were up to the standards that I'd expect, and the standards that I still hold myself to now. So it was funny. The Royal Marines Reserve, who I'm a part of now, they posted a picture of me doing a mail roll, bringing 4-5 Commando into Scotland, and it was in all the grots, and it used to annoy me because the recruits would go, "Is that you?" And it had loads of comments, and I didn't want to read the comments, and I was a bit like, oh, and I started reading them, and I was like, oh, this was my DL in training. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, he was hoofing, he was brilliant. And then I was like,
God.
oh, thank God for that.
Yeah,
At least
yeah,
I
yeah.
weren't a knob. You know what I mean? So yeah, I went drill instructor after my juniors in 2013. Then I was PMC instructor, and then I left the Corps in 2015
Awesome.
to be unemployed.
To unemployed. So there was a gap between leaving the Corps and starting employable.
Yeah, big gap. So I left the Corps, did my project management qualifications like everybody does. Everybody does.
Yeah.
And thought, yeah, that's it. That's me. Tabs out, 45 grand a year working on projects. Yeah. How hard could it be? I entered Civvy Street and got a real big kick in the nuts. And I spent most of the year unemployed.
Really?
And it really hurt me because...
Why were you finding it hard to find a job?
Do you know why? So I was going into construction and... I had no experience. I'd never run a project, and I had, and everybody has. Right. Everything's a project, unless it's business as usual. Everything that has a start and an end is a project. Right. But I didn't know that, and so I couldn't tell them my experience. And
Well, you couldn't translate what you'd done in the military
At
into
all.
language they would understand.
No,
Yeah.
no. And even when I did translate it, they still didn't understand how that worked in a commercial sense. And I can kind of understand it, but I wasn't highlighting those earned skills that I was talking about. I was
Right.
trying to highlight the learned skills.
Yeah.
And it was all wrong. And
I love that earn and learn thing. I've never heard it like that before. I really like that.
yeah, I come up with all like little Easter eggs
Yeah.
like that. I'm an idiot.
Just bits of gold dust falling off.
Oh
you.
yeah, well, I've got another one for you later. It's I then try to sustain because of my childhood. It makes me very driven and self-sacrificing in the fact that I didn't want my kids to even see even anything close to what I went through as a kid.
Yeah.
And therefore I was trying to sustain my life, keep it normal. So, loading up credit cards, loans. I got 30 grand in debt just being unemployed because I wanted them to have stability,
Right.
pay my rent, pay all the bills, keep them from, as a kid, I remember having to hide under the stairs from debt collectors, and that does have an effect on you when you're 4 or 5 year old.
Of course it does.
I did not want that for my kids.
No.
And so I kind of just took myself into huge levels of debt. And there was help out there, but it's very hard to find. And then they tried to diagnose me with PTSD. And this is a touchy subject for me because I know people with PTSD and I know people that don't have PTSD.
Yeah, right.
And the problem with that is I tried to teach them basically what PTSD was.
Yeah.
And I don't, and I never have had PTSD. Maybe from childhood, but a different kind. But the buzzword in the military is PTSD.
Right. It's this blanket wrap around all
Yeah,
of us.
yeah. Oh, right. You must have that. Go and speak to them. And it was like, no. I figured out that the reason that I was spiraling is not only because I was in debt, but I lost my purpose. I lost my mission. 1 week I was a PRMC instructor at Lympstone as a corporal. 2 weeks later, I'm signing on to get £72. Right. So I'd gone from here to here.
Royal Marines Commando, the identity.
Royal Marines Commando, the identity, the group,
yeah,
the lance, everything to nothing. And I'm stood, and I remember for probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 months after leaving the Corps, whenever I'd meet someone new, oh yeah, I'm a former Royal Marine. I'm a former Royal Marine. Never like now. I'm still proud of being a Marine. I'm still a Marine in the reserves, but it's I'm an entrepreneur. I'm CEO of this company, and that lack of purpose is something that I realised was what really broke me. I didn't belong in the world anymore.
Yeah.
And it got diagnosed as PTSD, and I started thinking, well, how many more people are just lost?
Yeah.
And are getting diagnosed and put on pills and all sorts of stuff, and just going down that wrong road. But eventually, it got better. It always does. It always will. And I got picked up by an army captain for a job for an app development company.
Okay.
And I ended up running some really big projects: Louis Vuitton, RAC, another one I can't mention, Halite Seals, Johnson Matt Habig, FTSE 100 company, and about 24 startups. So I wrote their project management strategy, started an accelerator, just being a bootneck basically, because I didn't really know what I was doing. But I was just good at connecting the dots.
Yeah.
And then in 2017, I was like, well, I could literally fix the problem that I had when I come out of the Corps. Why couldn't I? I knew everything there was to know about investment. I knew everything there was about tech development, about software development, project management. I knew everything. I'd taken probably 24 startups from idea stage all the way through to launch and beyond. And one of them exited last week, so got sold, which was really good. So I thought, right, let's give it a crack. And Kieran rang me, and he was working in the training world. So he left the Corps and was training, coaching people. And he was getting frustrated. And I said, look, mate, there's an app here. There's an app here. So we met in the M5 services and drew it there and then over about 3 hours, 45 coffees, cost the earth. And I've still got the original drawings.
That needs framing.
And do you know what? It looks exactly like the app that we got now.
Amazing.
It's just I just see it and then I drew it. And
so this takes us perfect to tell us about Employable. Tell us what that idea was and why you started it and where you're going now.
So what I realised was that when I left the Corps, I thought I knew who I was, and I didn't. And I thought I knew where I fit, and I didn't. And I thought I knew what was available to me, and I didn't. And I started realising that actually there's a lot that people just don't know. Right. And, I just sat there and had this exercise. Oh, if I knew that, and if I knew that, and if I had access to that, then I'd have been on a better road. And so Employable was born originally for the military, because you can't be everything to everyone at the start.
Yeah.
You can only be something to someone. And that someone I wanted to be worth something to was the military network, because I knew I wasn't the only one who went through that.
Right, no.
And actually,
I think everyone goes through it to a different degree.
yeah. And well, the thing is, you've got the safety net when you're in the military and you put your chit in
Yeah.
and you've got a year left, you've got a safety net. People take it for advantage.
Yeah.
And then, you've got leave to take to do courses, and people are taking leave and going on holiday. Do you know what I mean? But the minute you walk out that gate, you don't have a home, you don't have food, you don't have that, excuse me, that wage coming in. You don't. And people say you do, but you don't have the same sort of network and safety net, if you like. And what you find is a lot of people come out and people ring me up all the time. Lads ringing me, Pete, I'm leaving the Corps. Brilliant. What are you going to do? Well, I think I'm going to be a plumber. You think hard.
I'm going to do my project management course.
I'm going to do project management. Which project management course should I do? So how can I be like you? Oh, shut up. And the thing is, what happens is they go and they spend a lot of money on quals. And there's two things that happen. One is they get into the role and realise they hate it, but they've spent all their ELC and now it costs so much money. And this is across the board, not just military. To retrain costs so much money and time. And as soon as you've got commitments, kids, families, houses, it's almost impossible. So the only way is down from there mentally, because you don't fit. And to get out is such a long road. The second thing that I see a lot, which it makes me laugh. One of my mates rang me up. He's one of my best mates and I absolutely love him. But he goes, oh God, I did 12, 14 years in the Corps and now I'm just a bitch for this 26-year-old, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, mate, what you don't realise is that 26-year-old is a 10-year veteran of that, of what he's doing. Yeah. So if you're a 26-year-old corporal, which you was, and you're talking to young lads or recruits who are 35, I'd be there as a 25-year-old corporal detailing off 30-year-old men, watching 30-year-old men cry. Yeah. And you got to use that same mentality and go, well, this guy's got 10 years on me. Doesn't matter about age. So, and where do you think you're going to start? Yeah. Right? And especially the higher up you go, I think the worse it is. And if you come out as like a sergeant major, I think it's changing now. I've spoken to a lot are like, well, I'll just start at the bottom again. And the thing is, you don't have to start at the bottom, but you're never going to start at the top. No. I don't know what it's like for officers. But I enlisted for you.
Just walk out with the red carpet, and
just
you like fanfare, straight into big
association.
I think it's sometimes worse for officers.
Yeah.
Depending on how long they've served. Same as you talk about sergeant majors. I think you can be successful with everything we've learned if you can be humble enough to reapply that skill in the new context. Yeah. And like you just said, on leaving, my peer group's 15 years ahead of me. They're deep experts in this. They're super bright. Yeah. They have all of the knowledge that I had in the Corps in this world that I'm trying to break into. So it's on me to humble myself. But the great thing that you have that was given to you by the Corps is the ability to just absorb and learn. Yeah. So their 15 years, you get to their 15-year point of knowledge and competence in 5. Yeah, because, I believe that's true. Like when I was in that firefight, my first ever firefight, I had to learn and I had to practice it there and then, or people die. So get it done. And then if you take that same mentality into Civvy Street, then my God, if you realize the true power that you have to absorb knowledge, to learn, to be flexible and to just, grizz it out and be resilient. And that's one thing I learned with Employable, taking out of the military, then going into commercial world and then sort of having a word with myself and saying, well, how does this translate in a commercial sense? Well, actually, I need to be bold. One thing I don't mind being is, I read it in a book somewhere, I think, it's not on a movie, but I kind of like it, is one thing I'm quite well renowned for is being the first through the wall. So the first through the wall always gets bloody, is the saying, but then more people follow you through the wall. So I don't mind being the first through the wall. Yeah. And that means that I put myself out on a limb sometimes, which can be dangerous. So a couple of examples, we out Employable work a 4-day week. They get paid 5, but everyone gets a long weekend every weekend. Nice. That was a big thing. I caused some real issues with my COO and head of HR because I'd done a lot of research into it, but I'd gone into work and I did it the wrong way. So I'm constantly learning. I'm still learning. And I basically went in, called a team meeting and all my staff there. I went, right, we are moving to a 4-day week. And COO Marina was like, you what? Yep. And then obviously She's like, can we have talked about this beforehand?
No, exactly. And then the boot neck in me was just an absolute moron. Well, just get it done. Just get it done. And actually that's just not the way it works.
No,
you have to think about it. And she did, and give her a due. She got it done. And I think that's the other thing is when you're in business, you have to hire people who are much smarter than you.
Right.
You have to. And you have to understand that your ego is going to take a smashing when you start on a board meeting and everybody in the board meeting knows more than you. Great, come at me. Because it's all about the success at the end of the day. But what it's done for me is, and it would be surprising, and you'll be surprised at this, is where you think someone in the military goes through processes, who learns, do you know what I mean, takes orders. I'm the opposite of that. So monotonous tasks are monotonous. I hate them. I'm not very process driven. I get itchy feet if I'm in one place for too long.
Yeah.
I'm a social butterfly. But what I am good at is I'm a visionary, an ideas person, a guy that doesn't see a problem as rather a challenge. Do you see what I mean? So it's like we'll be going through work and people are like, oh, what about this? And I'll just be like, why don't we do this? I think Rob's seen that a few times with the cohort management system that we built that I showed him, and it's a bit like nothing is impossible. Nothing.
But being that visionary, being the ideas guy, you can also execute it, right? Otherwise,
absolutely.
Otherwise, you'd just be spinning in a world of colourful butterflies. But yes, you have great vision, but like you're also executing it, and you're doing really well executing right now.
Yeah. The problem, so there's pros and cons to that because you get the visionary stuff, and it was like we realised that we'd work with the MOJ. So we've gone through, it sounds very disjointed, but we've actually gone through a few years of micro and macro testing.
Yeah. So
I don't like just going, let's just throw 50 grand at this and see how it goes. We test everything. We test it on a £5, we test it on a £10, then we test it at £500, and then we look at the trends and see what happens. So like our user acquisition on the app. Are we seeing what we expected to see for the times that we're putting in? Yeah. And it's a long process, but my God, is it a safe one? Because now I can put X amount of money and get Y out of the other side without guessing, which means I'm spending people's money very cleverly.
Yeah.
And that's the difference is when you execute to that kind of level of detail, and that's what it is. It's that attention to detail. And if you translate that, what I used to teach to recruits is, why does everyone's lockers need to be the same for uniformity? It's not just to mess you around. Why am I going in and picking up this Irish pennant or this? It's that attention to detail that gets saved on the ground because you see something that doesn't look right. Yeah. And because it's an IED. Do you know what I mean? And when you look at that from a business perspective as well, I've seen some founders who just go absolutely crazy with other people's money and they spend millions of pounds to get it wrong. And it's almost like it's a culture of it's fine, we'll just get it wrong because we'll just keep getting money until we get it right. And that doesn't sit well with me.
No.
I'll spend as little as I can getting it right, and then I'll test it and prove it. And it's the execution to detail that is the key. And I remember we worked out that it worked with the MOJ, and me and Kieran sat there and we were like, how do we get it in front of them? I know. Let's email the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Yeah, let's do that. So got his email address, banged out an email. You need to look at this, and then blah 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 blah. A week later, we was in Whitehall with the head of policy for the Ministry of Justice. And then it's funny, we walked in.
What was the ask? What were you asking for?
I wanted the app to be in every prison in the UK because it helps transition ex-offenders to understand who they are, understand what's available to them, understand career routes, and then be more successful on the other side.
Which will bring down reoffending rates.
Reoffending, NHS, cross-government, it has a huge effect. And we walked in and this guy came and met us and he was like, there's a buzz going around here that you emailed directly the Chancellor of the Exchequer. I was like, yeah, we did. Oh my God, that's so cool. I'm like, he's just a human being. Yeah. At the end of the day, do you know what I mean?
You said earlier on that you learned to be bold. And that's bold.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, just
that's how you're getting things done.
Everybody wants something, right? And if you can work out what they want and get what you want, and it doesn't hurt anyone, then just go for it. And that's the difference. Is I literally. It's like personality profiling, right? Again, another problem. We wanted personality profiling in the app so people could understand a bit about themselves and where they fit. Now, for me to pay for that would cost me tens of millions of pounds a year. And a lot of people would go, well, that's that out. nah, I'm not having that. So we met the guy. I managed to get hold of him and said, look, I really like your personality profiling tool. And there's always an answer to everything. And we met him at King's Cross and I said, look, I want to give it away for free. And he was a bit like, what? And then I just spent 10 minutes going through what Employable was going to be and what it was going to do and how I could take his baby and deliver it at scale.
Right.
And I said, and if you let us have it for free, I will give you 10% of Employable. And he did. And now guess what? We launched personality profiling a couple of weeks ago.
Amazing.
And now every single one of our users can go and take the questionnaire and learn a bit about themselves, where they fit, what makes them tick.
Amazing.
And they can give it to other people who understand why they are like they are. And it's funny because we did it as a company, and you start looking at people's personality profile and go, that's why you're a dick there, and that's why you do that. And
that's
then people look at
hate
it
me.
and Pete and go, yeah, don't make him do that, because that's why he kicks off when he doesn't do it very well. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a bit more understanding about each other. And I think that's really important, because how do you know where you really fit if you don't really know yourself? Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah, definitely.
so the execution is, firstly, it's executing a plan, but having a plan. In the military, you can't just go out on the ground without a plan, a backup plan, a tertiary plan. Do you see what I mean? And it's the same in business. You can't just go out blindly. They look like someone good to speak to, because what happens is it grows. And I learned this the hard way, and it grows and it becomes something else, and it distracts you from what you're trying to actually do.
Yeah.
You're executing, but you're executing the wrong things. So, without that plan, and then it's executing the vision to be able to attract the people that can deliver it. And that's the key. So if you look at leadership management, someone told me that the art of management is getting somebody to do something you want done because they want to do it.
Right. Okay. Like that.
So something you want done because they want to do it.
Right.
That's management.
Yeah.
Leadership is about being that first through the wall, about not quite so much followership, but this is someone I believe, this is someone high in integrity, this is someone high in conviction, and this is someone I want to follow. And I think when you want to make a business, with our staff especially, but a lot with our shareholders and a lot with the people who follow us, you have to enable them to make your mission their mission. So when talking to the military and I say, this is what I went through and this is what it did to me and this is what I've done, there'll be people there, like you say, with the civvies who won't go to war, who can't, and that's what we can. The same is where people will sit and go, I can't do what you've done, but my God, I believe in what you've done.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to, I'm going to make your mission my mission, and I'm going to help you any way I can.
Yeah.
And that's leadership. That's, Steve Jobs did it very well. He's a bit of a, but he did it very well. Elon Musk is always the first through the wall. He's always in trouble. So I think execution covers lots of different levels, but I think the key fundamental to getting shit done, essentially, is just having the confidence, the conviction, and the passion. And the passion is the one.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have passion, you'll run out of steam.
Yeah.
And that's just how it goes.
There's so many wicked things you say. I love that first to the wall. I also love how you drew the parallel between locker inspections, which is the most painfully detailed. At the time when you're tired and you've been up all night, it's seeming like the most pointless use of time. But I love how you can draw a line directly from that practice to the level of detail that you go into now, executing, fundraising, growth, tech startups. I mean, that's an amazing parallel.
There's so many things from the military. And when you're going through training, any training, whether it's the RAF, the Navy, the Army, the Marines, whoever it is, you have to do these tasks. And sometimes the people who are making you do the task don't understand why you're doing the task. But you genuinely don't understand why you're doing this task. Why am I doing this task? But there's so many things that come out of those tasks that you can go, that's where that fits.
Yeah.
That's where that does. And it's like the endurance course, or like the 30 miler. The 30 miler is easily the most boring thing I've ever done in my life, right? And it's just boring. But now I know that nothing's as bad as a 30 miler. So,
Yeah.
you know, if I've got to do 2 hours worth of admin, well, at least it's not 7, 8
Yeah.
hour,
It's
8
another
hour 30
perspective point
miler.
in your
So
life. Yeah.
it is. And it's saying, well, I ran the London Marathon in 2015 and I do a lot for charity, and I got an MMA fight coming up. Probably going to get my head kicked in. My shareholders
Be another perspective point for you later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I remember I wanted to run a sub 3 hour marathon.
Oh,
Right.
rapid.
And that's a task.
Yeah.
So I put down on the application, they said, what time are you aiming to get? 2 hours 59. I was like, yeah, easy. I then stood there on the start line. So they gave me my start line. I looked around and I was like, I'm at the front of the marathon with all the elite runners, like running clubs, Oxford Running Club. And I'm there like that with my Blesma t-shirt on, just like, yeah, limbering up. And then I thought to myself, because I'm an idiot, I'm going to lead the London Marathon. So
First through the wall of the London Marathon.
and I went, oh my God, I sprinted out the gate and I reckon I was leading the London Marathon for the first 100 meters. And then I fell off. And then I was just like, well, that's an achievement. And
like
then,
that film, Fat Boy Run.
yeah, and I was like, yes, I'm winning the London Marathon. But then I got to half marathon and I did it. I was on an hour 43, so I was doing really well. And then boom, I fractured my leg. So I got a stress fracture in my leg, and I came in at 4 hours and 40 minutes, or 4 hours and 30 minutes,
which is still actually a really good time, and you did it with a broken leg.
Yeah, and that was a big lesson.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't sprint off at the beginning of the marathon.
Don't sprint.
Right.
Don't overextend yourself.
Yeah.
And
there's probably some metaphors for business in there as well.
I'd imagine so. Yeah.
If we really draw.
But I think with the military, there's so many things that you could draw upon, like those little locker inspection things. It doesn't mean you've got to sit there and do this 45-minute exercise to go, well, I remember doing that in training. Where does that translate? I think it's more of a natural thing. Yeah. And I think confidence is the big one, especially as you start going through the ranks, and you'd have done it when you're getting into the sort of command potential areas and you're given a set of orders. You know, you've got to give these set of orders, but you know, when you're doing it, it's like playing a game, right? There's just a set of orders. But actually, you always have to think that behind this set of orders is an actual thing that's going to happen that could cost people's lives. And it's the ability to be able to stand up, know it inside out, and then deliver it that makes you very powerful in the business world. Because I sit there and I have investment meetings and I talk to investors and I talk to big companies like, you know, Google and Microsoft and people like this, and I sit there and just with absolute passion and conviction tell them what I'm going to achieve and what my team is going to achieve, and they believe it. And I think they believe it because I believe it. And when you believe in something and you believe something's going to happen, then naturally you want to be part of that, right? And you want to get on board with it and enable it and help it. And I think that military people just naturally have that ability to be able to just give something like that to someone, especially civvies. And one thing I learned quite quickly was they're not. But me and Kieran came out and went, civvies are so lazy. Like what a civvy would take 3 weeks to do, we could do in like 3 days. And we was like just highly productive, and everything we was doing was waiting for someone else. And then we sort of sat there and go, why are we always waiting for other people? You know, why? And it's just a different mentality, right?
Yeah.
It's just a completely different mentality.
Yeah.
But it meant that if you look over the last 4 years, what we've achieved is nothing short of a miracle on not a lot of money, really, in the wider scheme of things. And along the way, we've collected a lot of stuff. So we won the Armed Forces Covenant Gold Award this year.
Yeah, I saw that on LinkedIn.
So as a startup, to go bronze, silver, gold 3 years in a row is just amazing for us. And it's that commitment, you see.
Yeah.
And I think they say we won the NatWest Entrepreneur of the Year Awards in 2019, and that was an accident. We just put in for it, and then next thing we're there and we won it. You're like, hang on, we just won that, and it's just entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So,
mate, this has been a much bigger episode than I thought it was going to be. Like, genuinely find you inspirational. You know, the story you've just told from your child all the way through, the presence you have, and I love that first of the wall thing, mate. And hopefully people watching this, either leaving the military or people looking back at the veteran community and looking to employ them, can just see in spades all of the reasons why using the military approach to execution is so vital.
I'm not an anomaly, and that's what people have to understand. Is I'm not one in a million. You know, it's everyone has the ability to achieve anything they want to achieve. They've just got to be willing to go and get it.
Yeah. Well, that seems like a good place to finish it. Mate, thanks for being the first guest. Thanks for being awesome.
Cheers. First through the wall.
Yeah, first through the wall.
Thanks for listening to the Challenger podcast series. We've got loads more great guests lined up. So if you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more, please like, follow, subscribe. Thanks again and see you next time.